My name's Dan. I'm from Stryker Medical. We're based in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
I need you to give your business address for the record.
Our business address is 3800 East Center Avenue, Portage, Michigan.
Okay, and your last name, Dan?
Fulmer, Fulmer.
Thank you.
I have a couple of hard copy brochures of the actual power load system. I'll kind of give you an idea on what I have out in my vehicle van. I have here our newest version of an ambulance cot that we call the Power Pro. The Power Pro cot is meant to be used. It really eliminates any strain or risk of injury that a paramedic would have to endure when lifting or lowering a patient on a cot. So instead of sheer brute physical force, hydraulic powered motors lift and lower up to a 700-pound patient. So when we think about an ambulance cot in this position, where a manual cot somebody would physically have to bend and lift, with a power cot we can push a button and it automatically lifts that up. So what makes this cot the newest version of the Power Pro is its ability to really adapt to the patient. So today we're trying to fit larger patients onto a standard sized cot, and we have a standard sized cot so that we can still fit through 30-inch door frames that we can fit into smaller areas, but it's always been an issue where patients are a little bit wider than the actual cot, so we needed more surface area. So we added a system we call XPS. It stands for an expandable patient surface. And this is really to accommodate those patients really from that 300 to 700 pound mark. And it's those patients that really bring the most risk to our paramedics and to our firefighters. So with an XPS system, we have more cot underneath the patient, making it easier for our paramedics to do their jobs. So a Power Pro cot with XPS in use in tandem with a power load system really provides the best case scenario for any paramedic. Where today, loading and unloading a cot from an ambulance, it's still operators holding and supporting up to that 700-pound patient weight, where typically a two-person paramedic crew, if they needed help lifting and loading that patient into an ambulance, they would have to call for what's called a lift assist, which means taking firefighters and paramedics off of the road who aren't available to go on other calls because they have to attend literally just to help lift and load a patient. That's really what the power load addresses. So that's cut.
And I'll do a side note on that. Many times right now we have to send our engine along with our life support vehicle to the hospital to help unload the patient. With this new system, the engine could stay in service and the two paramedics would be able to unload a large patient all by themselves.
Chief, I can see how that would be great to actually get the patient into the life support unit. But does that help within a home, let's say, rescuing something?
Well, the stretcher will accommodate a larger patient, which helps. Our other stretchers didn't accommodate this large of a patient because they didn't have the wings. Up and down stairs.
What if it's, I think what you're asking, it's a 700-pound, 600-pound person and they collapse, they're on the floor.
That still takes a lot of manpower. That always will take a lot of manpower, and we have lifting systems. We have bags that we inflate and help lift the patient up to the level of the stretcher. And I can let Captain Colombo talk a little bit about that. But it still is manpower intensive to get a 700-pound patient off the floor. We have special.
How do you get them downstairs?
With a lot of muscle right now, and we have stair chairs. We have a stair chair that we can use if the stair chair accommodates the patient. I can have Captain Colombo explain this.
Is that part of the system?
We already have stair chairs.
Yeah, we have stair chairs.
And they're in good shape, so that's a stair chair. Kind of like a client style kind of stuff.
So this takes care of, because the information I have on our claims are lifting.
Yes.
But not all lifting is,
Not all lifting is done right at the back of the ambulance. Much of the lifting is also done in dwelling or their office building.
That this equipment, I mean, looking at what counts versus our people, but we're always looking at economics too. It would seem to me that when you count everything, that these units probably pay for themselves in less than 5 years.
Oh, yes, I would think
Last
so.
5 years.
Yes. And it's much safer for the patient.
It'll last the life of the units, 7 years?
Yes.
But these will last the life of the units, absolutely.
You know, one other system that we have that the chief was mentioning is it's a Mangar airlift bag system, which we've had for many years, and this will deflate completely flat, like a plastic tarp, and then if you can just get the patient on there, there's a little compressor that the airbags inflate.
We were the first to get those.
We were, yes. And
Yeah,
we love
we
numbers.
were.
So just to remind you that we have those. But to get them from the floor to the cot, that's what we would use. Down the stairs. So it's a combination of systems that we have to have for all different scenarios we can run into. With either the stair chair, the lift bag, and then with this, we pretty much got it covered.
Now, one side note, and the power load system, the nice things that it does for firefighters and paramedics is that it supports cot and patient weight during that loading and unloading process, which today we're relying on a physical human being to make sure and monitor that entire process. It's now done by a system. The imperative thing that the system does for you is when the cot is loaded into the ambulance and fastened inside the ambulance, we lock the stretcher in a way that lets us pass a 20G front impact and a 10G every other direction crash test, and that cot cannot come out of the fastener. So to put things in perspective, if an ambulance is T-boned, if an ambulance is struck in the right way or a catastrophic accident occurs, there is a chance for a cot, an ambulance stretcher, to come loose in the back of an ambulance. So depending on the situation, when that ambulance cot comes loose, it becomes a missile in the back of an ambulance and it's going to do damage to whatever it hits. What a power load system does is it gives you the ability to make sure that anybody in the back of that ambulance is in the safest cot fastener in the world, and it will pass that 20G, 10G damage crash test, and it will not come loose.
And those are higher standards than are set in America presently. They're set in Canada, I believe, and Australia.
Yep.
And they meet those standards.
Mr. Moss, that question.
Yeah, let's say the electronic portion of going up and down malfunctions. Is there a manual way to lift it up and down, or you have to lift up the whole thing?
Nope, there are, on the power cot itself and the load system, there are manual backups in case of any catastrophic failure. So the cot and the load system talk to each other when they're in operation, but if the cot loses power, there is a backup way to tell the load system to lift and load. Or if the load system loses power, you still have the ability to load the cot. If both systems fail and there is a power failure, you are never left without the capability of finishing your ambulance call.
Anyone else?
You know, I have no question on this, but I do have some questions when we get to some information I'd like to have.
Okay. Anything else on the power load? This is rather pricey, but as Mr. Charette points out, it is we exceeded in insurance liability the amount of the stretchers. Nothing else? Then thank you, Dan. And we'll go back to Mr. Perkowski's questions on units.
The various private ambulances that have emergency vehicles, how do our specs differ, if they do differ, from what we have? And I guess our department would have to answer that.
Yeah.
In other words, when our specs come out, do our specs make our costs go up? Is what I'm really wondering, because I've gone to a lot of conferences and they have these expo areas. And I've seen the emergency vehicles that they have on display for private, and those are being used extensively, according to what I heard and listened to and seen, and watched their presentation. How do ours differ? Because there is a difference in cost between the two? And I guess I'm wondering why is it that much more?
The current trucks that we have are medium duties. When we started transporting